Work. Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. I will run our intro and we'll be right back. All right, ladies, we are back. So, welcome again to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. I am Samantha Walker, one of your hosts, and to my right over there, is the lovely Shanetta McNair. I don't know what I was about to say. And right below us, down there, is the awesome Katrina Taylor.
Good evening.
All right, and we make up Sisters of Legacy. So we are on here every Thursday at 8 p.m. and we talk about various topics. So today, ladies, tell me what's going on in your life. What's happening? What's going on?
Back to the hustle and bustle. People that pay me making me get up in the morning.
All right.
Here is over.
Right, because Shanetta is a teacher. And in Georgia, school is about to start. Yay, parents. And if you're like me, your kids have been home for way too long, thanks to the big city. But now they are going back, riding the school bus and all. I am so excited. If I wasn't so tired, I'd be doing a happy dance. So Shanetta is back to work, ready for the children.
Yep.
And Katrina, you have had your children all summer. So how's the daycare going?
It's going good. Everybody's being themselves, being their little selves.
So what's the current age of your students right now? What's your age range?
Two 2-year-olds, a 3.5-year-old, and a 8-year-old right now.
Ooh, okay.
Wow.
That's a bit of a gap. That's a bit of a gap. That's got to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, the school age kids are bored every other second. So
Right.
no matter what you do, no matter what you prepare,
Right.
we all still can come inside. Like it's just their age, and they want electronics in their hand, and I don't allow electronics.
Oh
Mm.
wow.
So that's a
Okay,
big
like all day. Then they don't. Wow, nice,
no electronics.
nice.
So
Yeah. You
Listen,
got
that's commitment.
get a book.
That's
I
commitment.
like that.
No electronics. On a Friday afternoon, we may watch a movie, but other
Okay,
than that,
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen,
Disconnect for a while and do something different.
right. That's cool. Awesome. Hey, Lisa, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing. So this week we are going to talk about mental and emotional spring cleaning. So of course, if you've ever watched us, you already know we are not therapists, counselors, none of that. We're just three women with lots of experiences and various amounts of years. If you put all three together, ooh, we old. That's a lot of years of experience, though. If you put all three of our ages together, carry the one, that's a lot.
You might be carrying more than one.
I know. That's all I'm willing to accept is to carry the one. It's a lot of years of experience. So what we do, we tackle various topics and just talk about our experiences, things we've learned, some do's, some don'ts. Occasionally we do a little research, see what Google has to say. Um, it was my intent tonight to have on one of our sister therapists, but schedules didn't quite coincide, and I wasn't able to make that happen. So, hello, husband. I'm thinking that's you. If not, hello anyway. Um, so tonight you will just get us. But I did do a little bit of Googling, so we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. So the topic, how I came up with it, even though it says spring cleaning, I'm sure probably all of us at some point, when you were younger and it was summertime, your parents would say, okay, let's go through your school clothes. You go through your clothes at the end of, the school season, the stuff that was like maybe tight, a little ripped. All right, this your summer stuff, or this the throwaway stuff, or this whatever. And then when it got time for winter, you went through the process again. And they would call it spring cleaning. At least that's what I tell my kids. We spring cleaning, bring all your clothes out, whatever, let's go through, let's throw things away. So, hi, Mother Norris. So I was thinking about that. And although we do that with our houses, we do that with our children, sometimes we do that with our closets, especially as a woman, we rarely actually take the time to do that. To actually say, this is what I'm doing. Not, I don't want to be bothered with anybody. That's different. Not, I'm just sticking by myself. I'm talking about actually being purposeful and intentional about not necessarily your mental health, but your mind, your energy, the things you put your energy into. So I figured, what a great way for us to do it together. And like I said, because we're not therapists and because I just don't want to be giving you bad information, I did do some Googling and I came up with some pretty interesting things. So I'm going to share a few of the things that I came up with, and then the ladies can share some of their stuff. So I'm going to start with some of the tips for mental health spring cleaning. Um, the first tip was start journaling. It says how you should keep a journal of your thoughts, your worries, your fears, and your upsets. And it says this helps release it from your mind. I know a lot of times we have trust issues, we have proximity issues, and sometimes we just have scheduling and time issues, and we don't always have the time to stop and physically talk to somebody. Sometimes we don't have the desire to stop and physically talk to people. So journaling is a great way to get out some of the thoughts out of your head and kind of give yourself a little bit of a release. So if you ladies want to make any comments, y'all can jump in. So personally, me, I used to journal, like I probably have notebooks everywhere where I journal for a while. But for me, it would definitely have to be something kind of sporadic and for little periods of time. Because it's not something that I could just like do for months. I don't know, the thought process behind it. Like, I try not to let my mind get that bogged down that I have so much that I need to purge. I like human interaction. When something's bothering me, I like to be able to talk to somebody. Um, there's a selective few I'm going to talk to, but I like, not to get an answer. I just need you to listen. I just need, to be able to get it out. That's my preference, and that's kind of what works for me. So journaling, though, is like a sporadic thing. I think if you've never tried it, what's the worst that could happen? Like, to try something new.
Right.
I think that journaling is It works. I haven't done it like consistently recently, but I do kind of write down like gratitude. Like if the Lord does something,
Mhm.
he works something out, I'll write it down so I can go back and be like, just remember and be like, well, thank you, Lord. I do remember how you worked that out for me, how I was worried about that, and it came together at the last minute. And I know that was you. So I'll write it down. Just so I could go back and remember to just always be thankful.
Right.
Um, Also, when you're talking about releasing things from your mind and time management, what I do consistently do is do a brain dump. Like when I know I've got so many things to do, like I write a to-do list, and like it could be from all over every aspect of my life, but I'll just write it out so I could see it and be like, okay. And sometimes it's just like I'll feel like I have so much, but then when I write it down, I'm like, oh, it's not that much. No, that's not too bad. I can check these things off. And then I'll look back at the end of the week and be like, oh, I actually got most of this stuff done. So it's very helpful. Like, I think just to see it and get it out. So yeah, that's definitely helpful.
Okay.
I would agree with all of that. I have tons, and like I could literally probably turn around behind me or over here on the other bookcase and probably pull a good 10, 15 notebooks or journal books that I have where I've written things in them, from positive to brain dumps to things that are, like hopes, fears, dreams, or problems, or, kind of like an old school diary when you were a kid where you just kind of write all the things. Um, and I think it's helpful. I even tried using the Notes app, and I did like a lock note on my phone where I was just kind of like, instead of like, because it could be like, maybe I'm laying in the bed and I can't sleep, but I don't want to get up and go get a journal and turn on a light and
Right.
interrupt, my husband from sleeping. So like I might pull out my phone, dim the light on the phone, and just type out my thoughts just to get it
Okay.
out of my head and onto something else. So I did that even for a while. I think it's helpful because it does kind of help you. I like what Trina said, the brain dump. It kind of gets those things out so that you can kind of clear your mind of, all the things that are just like kind of holding you down in that moment. And it may not necessarily be negative. It may just be like, I have a lot on my mind. I have a lot to do. I have a lot going on. I need to get this out of my head and in some place that can help me see it in a
Mhm.
different kind of way so that I can accomplish what I need to accomplish. I am the sticky note queen and a to-do list champ. Like I will make a to-do list for everything. Like, oh, we gotta have, such and such so and so event. Okay, these are all the things I have to do. And I'm checking them off, crossing them out, making new to-do lists, rewriting the whole to-do list because I've crossed out 7 things and the paper looks all crumply to me now. So let me write it over on another piece of paper with only the things that I still need to do. Um, like I will to-do list you to death probably with like if you came and looked at like some like and me and then I keep them. And that's the crazier part is that I was just even looking at sticky notes from like conversations that we had like months ago, and I'm like, why am I keeping this? I was just jotting down stuff while we were talking, so I didn't forget it, but like, why do I still have the sticky note? But I think it helps to kind of keep you focused on some of the things you really need to focus on. So when you get it out of here and get it placed, in writing somewhere else, it kind of helps. But writing also helps with processing. Um, when you go back to teaching kids, we have them write certain things when they're older, especially like taking notes, because it helps your brain to process what you're learning, which is the theory behind taking notes. Like you're writing it down so that you're processing as you're writing and comprehending things differently. So when you write things down in a journaling aspect, it helps you to process what's going on around you, what's going on in your life, and what you need to kind of sit through and focus on. So I like journaling.
Okay. So Trina, since you were talking about you know, the gratitude and writing down like the things that God has done and things that have worked out. One of the tips was make gratitude a priority. And it says, one of the great ways to promote a healthy mind is to consider everything that you're grateful for. And it says there's a number of ways you can do this. Of course, making a list, um, set aside some time. Mm, Okay, so it was saying making a list, and then it was saying you could also take a few moments every day and check off all your blessings. So I guess it kind of falls in line with the gratitude. Since we're all believers, I'm gonna say that just sounds like praying and thanking God for the things He have done. And if you don't pray, meditate. I don't know what other people do because I pray. So but if you meditate, if you thank the universe or whoever you consider that makes these things happen, if you feel like you are the master of your own universe, then sit down and think yourself. Go through all the things that you've been able to accomplish, all the goals that you've been able to reach. Sit down and just be grateful in that moment. I know sometimes when things are wrong, when things are going bad, when things aren't the way we want them to go, that's all we can see.
Mm-hmm.
We can't see nothing else but, oh my God, I ripped my pants this morning on the way to work, and now my whole day gonna be bad. Like you can't see the fact, like you missed everything else that happened. Oh my God, this car almost hit me. When the flip side about it is it missed you.
Almost right. It
Right,
did.
like it scared you. God knows that is scary, but it missed.
Mhm.
So sometimes we don't think about all the great things that are happening. Like my husband this morning, I know both of us woke up so tired, like so tired this morning. So I was like, I gotta get out of here. I didn't even want to talk because if I sit down, I'm not gonna make it to work on time. So I
Mhm.
just was like out the door. And I called him later and was like, how you feeling? And he was like, oh, it's gonna be a bad day. No, he said it's gonna be a rough day. And I said, no, you're having a rough start. Like, let's put things into perspective. It's a rough start because if you say you're having a rough day, it's gonna be a rough day because
Yeah.
that's where your mind is. So
The new thing of manifesting.
having a mindset of gratitude, being grateful. Sometimes you just need to, even if it's visual, even if it's verbally saying, you know what, I'm alive. I'm however many years old. My kids are healthy. They drive me crazy, but they healthy. Sometimes you have to verbalize the good that's happening and let it overshadow the things that aren't quite what you want them to be.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. There are some mornings where I'll be like, Nair and I'll be having our in the car morning talk. When he's when he's at work and I'm on my way to work. And when we're getting off the phone, he would tell me, well, have fun. And I'd be like, that's such a not normal thing to say to someone going to work. Like,
Right.
have fun. Like, why would you say that to me? But he says it like, just random, like, well, have fun. And I'm like, okay, you too. But it's a way of just kind of like putting the positive out
Right.
and kind of just saying, like, it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a fun day. It's going to be, an exciting day. No matter what you're about to walk into or, how the morning started, you're kind of like putting it out there that it'll be a good day, a fun day.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. And so, based on what you said, another one of the tips is change your perspective. And I think we kind of covered that just instead of looking at what almost happened, what could have happened, look at things instead of, I almost had an accident this morning. Like, God protected me this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I made it to work safely, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody doesn't always. I made it in one piece.
Right.
I woke up this morning. Yeah, I went to Starbucks and they were slow but hey, I
child.
have money for Starbucks because Starbucks ain't cheap.
That's
So sometimes I think it's all about, changing your perspective. It says, accept that you are not perfect, and neither is the world around you. Instead of focusing on issues that make you mad, look to the moments of progress and joy instead. That big part is, I know we always say, yeah, I'm not perfect. And we say that, but we be like, yeah, but y'all less perfect. Like I'm not perfect, but y'all not perfect. Like somebody told me once, not gonna say who it was, he said, Sam, you can't be mad at people because your 100% is 100%. Maybe their 100% only equals 50% of, and I was like, like, no. Like it took a minute for that to process. Like maybe you really are giving your all. Once I really, of course, woosawed in the moment and thought about it, I was like, wow. That's like if you gave me everything you had, and I'm like, I don't want that mess.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's so terrible that I've been doing that to people, because not like that, not literally, but like, sometimes when people do something, you be like, that's not right. And they're like, but I did my best.
I did my best.
Right. So it's not just you're not perfect, but it's all a level playing field. All of us are not perfect. It's all the same, the same amount of not perfectness. And yes, I'm making up words tonight.
Yeah. I think that's hard, accepting that you're not perfect. And realizing that other people around you are, of course, not perfect as well. But I think a lot of times we've talked about this before, about how hard we are on ourselves.
Right.
So we expect perfection from ourselves. We expect, like, if you are given it, and it depends on your personality too. But I think for the most part, we try not to give half. We try to give all of ourselves. And that's one of the key things that really bogs us down, that causes us to need to be mentally and emotionally spring clean.
Right.
Because we have all these things going on and we're trying to be perfect in everything we do. We're trying to make sure everything is just right. So I have to be the perfect mom. I have to be the perfect wife. I have to be the perfect employee. I have to be the perfect sister and the perfect friend and the perfect daughter and the perfect everything. And before you know it, your perfection is kind of crumbling to pieces and you don't understand why. And then you're holding yourself to this standard when you only have the strength and the energy to make it to about right here.
Right.
And now you're concerned and you're worried and you're upset with yourself because I want to be here, but I can only make it here each day. So it causes you to kind of like just be weighted down with so much. So accepting that you're not perfect, you can't do everything, and that it may not all, maybe you need to delegate. Maybe you need to, clear out your mind and figure out, well, what can somebody, can you take the kids to soccer today? Okay, yeah, you do that. I'm going to stay home and take a bath. Have a nice day. So like being able to kind of like, delegate tasks helps you to kind of keep your mind from being so overweighted, or that mindset of saying like, okay, well, I did give it to somebody else, but I can do it better. Nobody can do it the way I can do it. So you know what? Let me take it back and I'll just do it myself, because you're just not doing it right. So I'll just do it myself. I need you to wash dishes. I need the kids to clean the kitchen, but they're not even washing the dish. Forget it. I'll just do it myself. And we get right back to where we started off, because we're not even willing to accept what someone else's effort looks like.
Absolutely. All right. So the next one was kick negative thoughts to the curb. It says chances are good you have enough on your mind without negative thoughts bouncing around. Consciously push those thoughts out and refocus on something positive instead. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the whole change your perspective. Like you said, sometimes we're so hard on ourselves. Like I've already decided when I got up, oh, this dress don't fit right. Oh, there's a bulge here. There's a lump here. So by the time I get to Anthony and I'm asking him how I look, I know I look a mess. Like I've already had the whole conversation, and he's standing there like, where do I fall in this conversation? Like, sometimes we're so negative towards ourselves, that stuff weighs on you. Like I know I've said before, how you speak to yourself matters.
Mhm.
We are our own harshest critic.
Mhm.
Like, we like for me, I criticize everything. Like even when I'm giving something my all, like when it's over, I'm still like, I could have did that better. Oh man, you should have did that. Oh, you should have did that. And I'm like, dang it, Sam. Like, and other people are like, oh, that was great. And I'm like, no, but I didn't do this. And I didn't do that. And then you notice I didn't do that. Like, don't tear yourself down.
Yeah. Because none of that really matters to the other people they're not expecting, like they're in love with what you did. They're in love with what you offered versus you trying for everything to be just like, because like you could take any aspect of something that you do when you're a perfectionist and just say, well, I could have did this better. And everybody else is like, oh, it's fabulous. It's great. It's wonderful. And you're kind of looking like, but it wasn't though. Like that was horrible. That was awful. And they're like giving you all these rave reviews on everything you've done, and you're still beating yourself up instead of just saying, let me take this compliment, let me live in this moment, let me enjoy this. I was watching a video the other day, and this was a little different. It was related to children and how when somebody gives our children a compliment, when they're like, oh, your children are so well behaved, oh, your children are so, they're so good, they're so kind, they're so sweet, they're so respectful or whatever, we automatically jump to negative and we be like, no, they're not. They don't act like this at home. Or we'll say something like, well, do you want them? Like
Right.
you kind of like jump straight to the tear down instead of like
Right.
thank you. My kids are pretty good. Like they are really respectful kids. They do know how to act. Instead of taking the compliment, we jump straight to the child, you don't even know.
Right.
Because it's naturally what we do. And they were saying that we have to change that about about ourselves and about our children so that they hear us celebrate with other people how awesome and dope they really are. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Too bad I can't go back and redo it with my kids, because I was sure like, child, these kids don't know how to act at home. I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, yeah, we should kind of change the way, thank you, instead of like, you can have them. So yeah, we have to do the same with ourselves.
That's so funny because it's just like my kids, especially this year, I'm making posts about them and their accomplishments and everything. And I'm sitting there typing all these good things, but in the back of my mind, I'd be like, but you know what? He ain't take the garbage out, and I had to tell him 3 times to mow the lawn. Here I am typing all this great stuff. Am I really being truthful? Because he was sure on my nerves all week long. But you're right. They actually do deserve the accolades, for the hard work they put in and all that stuff. I mean, on the other hand, again, like the topic is, nobody's perfect.
Right.
And so just like we give ourselves that grace, you have to give our children the same grace.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. And so the next one was, and I know y'all gonna be like, I don't got time for that. Is pick up a new hobby. Now I know we all got heavy. See, look at that face right there.
Uh,
We got, weighted schedules. And it says, consider starting a new hobby to help spend your time constructively. A mind occupied with an interesting activity is a happy one. Now, a hobby it doesn't have to be like building a rocket that's going to Mars. Like sometimes when we think about a hobby, we think about just that's something else I gotta do. Like it doesn't have to be um like that kind of hobby. Like reading is great. Like I can sit sometimes and I can read a whole book in a day. I can just sit and read a book. And it's great. It's therapeutic. You putting something in your head. Your imagination is going. I know it's like really, 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 really old, but like back in the day, people used to crochet and knit. Like while you watching TV. I mean, like sometimes just doing stuff, with your hands. Like sometimes I'll sit and I'll be braiding Alexa's hair. Like that's therapeutic for me. Or like if I'm in the kitchen cooking, like stuff like that. Take a fun cooking class. Like, take a dance class. Like there's so many different things. There's so many different things, that you might be surprised, like if you try.
Yeah.
See, look, thank you, Lisa. I still crochet. It's great therapy. My mom still crochets. She don't like me messing with her stuff though, because she said I do it too tight. But I don't care. But it is great. Like, sometimes it's kind of like mindless, because your mind kind of gets to empty out like organically on its own.
Yeah.
You don't really have to think about anything. Um, you know, I think it's kind of great. But there's so many different things you could try. It might be something that might seem silly, and you'd be like, "Wow, I didn't know I would enjoy that so much."
Yeah.
So I think a hobby is great, something new, and sometimes something new is good too. Like we a lot of times, like we turn into our parents. Like what do I mean? You find yourself doing stuff that your parents did. Now you doing this. Your mom used to do this. Now you do this, and it's kind of like we don't venture out. We don't try new things. So I think a new hobby would be like great. I mean, I'm hobbied out though. Like I don't have I'm hobbied out. I think if I pick up one more hobby, I don't even know where I would put it. But it is a great idea. I mean, honestly, I have so many things that like I was working on balloons before I even started doing this, putting together a balloon thing. So like it is great to pick up new stuff. And that's something like that I picked up during the pandemic. Was like bored one day and got on Pinterest. And before I knew it, it was like, oh shoot, I can really do this. And so new hobbies are great. I think a new hobby would be a great start.
I would agree. I started trying to learn how to knit. I could not get it like fully, but I found a video tutorial that taught you how to do chunky knitting without the needles. You do it with just your hands. So
Oh,
I knitted over spring break. This past school year, I knitted this chunky blanket that I have in my room. So I like ordered all this yarn off of Amazon, and I literally sat during spring break while watching TV, just like making this blanket. So like I have it. It's not
okay.
like beautiful, but like it's something I made. And I actually have a big old ball of yarn upstairs right now, where I was going to continue the blanket and make it even bigger, but I just decided not to. And I was going to take it to Jamaica with us. And then I was like, no, that's like not the right thing to take with you on the airplane, trying to knit a big old blanket while you're on this airplane. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I did knitting. When I learned how to bake cakes, that was like one of those like, oh, let me find something to do that will be, nice to do. So like the cakes, the knitting, um, it was something. I love reading. Like you can like I can get a book, and like if it's a good book, you can leave me alone for hours. I've
Right.
taken like when I first married my husband and I didn't really want to talk and interact at his family functions, I would take a book with me and just find a corner and sit there. And the whole time we were on a trip, that's like they knew where to find me until I kind of got more comfortable with interacting and talking. But I still take my books. Um, but yeah, like I did something else. I can't even remember. I've tried some of everything. So hobbies are good too. Now, one of my favorite hobbies, and people really might not consider this a hobby, but it is for me. Um, is watching TV.
You said what?
Watching Ratchet TV. That's like to me it's a hobby because I'm so like I'm not watching it because like you know how some people are like, "Ooh, I just have to see what's going on." I don't watch it because of that. I watch it because it's just mindless activity. And it's just like I really don't even have to think about anything and just sit there and be like, "Oh, child, they so shady." It's just it seems fun to me to just watch like, you know, just the Ratchet TV. So I do that as a hobby too.
Listen, so I will say, I know my husband's gonna have something to say. He said like love and hip hop. In the beginning, I used to watch it. Like I liked the New York one in the very beginning when they had Jim Jones and Chrissy on there, cause she's all New York all day. I loved it. But then like after they started doing all the spinoffs and it just went like all the way to the left. But that used to be like my hour of like mindless nothing to watch these people act the fool. So yeah, I don't know if that's a hobby, but I understand. Trina, what you got? I know you got some hobbies. Nothing.
I read a lot. I have a Kindle. So I'm always downloading books. I'm always reading. Um, but I like fiction. And I'm not, a lot of people like, nonfiction and get information for their minds. No, I want to escape. I
Right.
just wanna get all into the story and I want to get mad at the characters and all that stuff. And why would you do that? And I slam the thing shut.
Absolutely.
Um, but other than that, I mean, there's some things I might want to do, things I've been thinking about, but I think I wanna learn how to like go not camping, glamping, because I can't be on the ground with
What is
bugs and
that?
such. But I would like to, go out there,
Right.
but I
See?
can't all the way. I can't be just in a tent. Give me something else. Give me like a cabin or
Would
like
you like
a
a tiny cabin?
RV, something. What'd you say, Janetta?
Would you like the tiny cabins? Like
Yes.
big
Yes, I could do.
window.
Yes, I could do that. I could do that. I could do
See,
that.
let me tell you, I tried to get our group. I wanted to go camping, and I asked in the group, "You want to talk about some black people and crickets? Why the whole?" And it's about 12 people in this group. It was like crickets, Trina, and they was like, "You mean like outside?"
Right.
Camping, yes, camping. Like, listen, all my feelings was hurt. Nobody wanted
Put
to
some
camp.
qualifiers on it. Like you'd be like, we won't be on the ground, we won't be in tents. You gotta be, a little
Child,
more like make sure they know.
by the time it finished, that was just us being at a cabin. That's not the same. That's not the same.
Well, here we are.
Hey, but you got to start
Gotta
somewhere.
start somewhere.
There you go.
Right. Right.
All right. So, another one of the things was build positive relationships. It says we all have people in our lives that we love, but with whom we don't have the healthiest or most enjoyable relationships.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some relatives, sometimes it's some friends that you've had forever and they just worry all your life. Instead of spending time prioritizing those people, like, oh, I can do her once a week. I can't do you a lot. It says consider dedicating your time to positive friendships instead. So I think that's great. I mean, you ladies, y'all do that at least once a week on here. You're
Yeah.
dedicating
I feel
yourself.
like this.
Right. There you go. To positive relationships. We're positive.
Right.
We silly a lot, but we're positive. Um, but I think like, that has kind of been my kick the last couple of years is trying to dedicate that myself to that more. I will confess because I know my husband's on here. I told him tonight before the show that I was over it. I was done with people, wasn't doing it no more. I was quitting, I was hanging up my dedication right before the show. I just told him tonight, I'm done. I'm over it. I quit. Um, because it's hard. Like I'm not gonna pretend like it's easy. It is hard. Like when you're trying,
Mhm.
like when you're trying something different because it's very different for me. You know, like I've known Katrina more than half my life. Like, so she's not somebody, you know, that I just met. Shanette is a newer friend or whatever, but like, you know, it is a process and it's hard. But I will say there has been a lot of benefits. But you do have them days like today when I was quitting. I was giving up, never to friend anymore. Um, but I think that it's a great thing, though. You know, you never know who you can meet. You never know who you could be connected to. Sometimes you just need somebody in that moment. Sometimes people say something awesome, and then everything else they say be dumb. But it's like that was great. Like I'm gonna remember that part right there. Like, you know, because we all have the moments that sometimes we say something that is so like prolific. And then sometimes we be like, you're so ghetto. So, but I think, you know, trying new friendships, positive friendships, I think that's a great idea.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. I don't put myself out there a whole lot. So it would like just building the relationships that I have. I will say that in the last 2 years, building relationships has come just a little bit easier. Um, and it could be, you know, that pandemic effect of like, oh, I want to be connected now that I can't be connected, but when I could be connected, I didn't really want to be around people. Now I want to be around all the people. So I don't know if it's like kind of that effect or if it's just like a maturity, you know, or having new relationships that it's like, oh, like, you know, maybe I can interact a little bit more. Um, but I do think having positive relationships and building more positive relationships helps you just with the burden of life, just with the everyday impact of what you're going through, because you don't feel so alone. You don't feel like there isn't somebody you can talk to. Like you kind of have somebody that you can kind of turn to and bounce ideas and thoughts off of. And I think that that helps us mentally when you can get it out or talk it out or talk to someone about how you're feeling and having positive, because like if you have a negative relationship, I'm not going to call you if I have a problem.
Right.
If we're not in a good space or we always have this head butting every time we talk, I'm not going to call you when I'm having, you know, issues or problems in my life that I need to like, I just need to vent, because you're probably going to say something stupid and then I'm going to be ready to fight you. So like, you know, that being said, I don't need to add more troubles to my trouble. So I'm just not going to talk to anybody, right? But if I have positive relationships, then I have more confidence in being able to say, let me call Trina and talk to her about, you know, this crazy teenage son I have, because she knows this life. Like she can help me through this because we have a positive relationship. But if I call somebody who I don't have a positive relationship with, and then they say something sideways about the child that I'm already calling crazy, um, my mindset might change because wait a minute, I got a little boy crazy, but I don't know that you get to do that. So, like the dynamic has now changed. So, I definitely get that positive relationships can like help you kind of be a little bit lighter. I like that.
Well, I wrote down build positive relationships, number 6, and I'm going to put a star next to it.
That's a start. I'll take that.
There we are.
I'll take that. The next one was tackle projects you've been putting off. Um, you know, depending on your personality or whatever, you know, maybe you've been wanting to plant some tomatoes or you've been wanting to clean out a part of your closet and turn it into something else. You know, sometimes it's a project in your house you may want to do. But I think, yeah, projects we've been putting off, sometimes, yes, going and picking up an old list, like, you know what? I never went in the garage and went through all the Christmas supplies that I have.
Don't do
You
it. Don't do
should
that. Don't go in that garage. You're gonna find people living under all this. I cleaned out my garage one time. And my son's friend came over and was like, all of this stuff was in your garage. It was like we had a whole family of 5 living out there in that garage. It took us 2 days, and about 6 weeks of trash runs for the people, because we had so much stuff and they would only pick up so much at a time, that we had to put back in the garage and then sit back on the curb each week. And I was like, okay, take this. And then my son took it and put everything up against the back side of our house. So like if you walked around to the back of our house, it looked like a junkyard. And every week we were taking stuff to the curbs for the dumpster for the trash man. But anyway, yes, clean your garage out. What else?
So I think that one is self-explanatory. So we're gonna go on to the last two. I kept what I think. Oh no, there's 3. Okay, so this one isn't that bad. It says drop a bad habit. Pick an area in your life that has an impact on your mental health. For many of us, this might be diet or exercise. Make an effort to drop the habit and replace it with a healthier option. Instead of lazy Sundays, for example, maybe switch to lazy Sunday afternoons after a quick jog. So obviously these people don't go to church, because if they did, they would know there was no such thing as a lazy Sunday. Because I have just been stand up, sit down, turn around, touch your neighbor, put your hands on your head for the last 3-4 hours. It's already been a busy Sunday. But I think to drop a bad habit, though, that's great. Like, and it could be something simple. Like I make a conscious effort, unlike somebody who I'm married to, not to eat after a certain time. Like my husband can eat at 10:30 at night and lay down and go to sleep and be fine. If I eat late, you know what I'm talking about? It seems like the food is trying to come back out. Like it's angry, it be in there violent, like I'm uncomfortable. It seems like a lot be happening. So you can get rid of a habit like that. Like set a time, I'm not gonna eat after 8 p.m. Or I'm only gonna eat 1 bag of chips for the whole week. Or like if you cuss, you're a cusser. I'm not gonna cuss on Wednesdays. I don't know. Like there's so many, bad habits. I'm gonna stop cussing when the kids is home. You gotta baby step it. There could be so many there could be so many things. He said, "Don't put my fat boy habits in the street." But then there's so many bad habits sometimes. That we have. Like on Sunday morning when they say touch your neighbor, don't turn and look at the wall. Actually touch your neighbor. It's okay. See, look at this. You see who's not touching their neighbors. I just said, there's so many little things that, if you really sat and thought about, you probably could adjust, and it really wouldn't be necessarily life threatening to your everyday, the everyday of who you are. So drop a bad habit.
Is there something on that list that says indulge in something that you really love? I'm just asking with purpose here, because like if I'm gonna drop a bad habit, like if I'm gonna, I'm gonna eat healthier, I also feel like I should be able to indulge in my cookies and ice cream when I feel like it. It's kind of like a balance.
Okay, so the next one on the list is, so I think the last 2, because I thought these were kind of a bit much. So it says, let go of past drama. Now, drama can mean something different for everybody. It says drama and the negative feelings it induces has a way of sticking with us. Let past drama go, even if it's tempting to hang on to it. Your mind will be a more positive space and will be better able to handle the coming year thanks to your effort. And you'll feel less stress and anxiety as a result. I will say, you ever like somebody that, I don't know, you don't necessarily don't like them, but they just irk you kind of every time you see them. So every time you go somewhere and they come in, you like, it's like you remind you holding on to the drama. They ain't even said nothing. Maybe today they won't even come and talk to you. But you already like at my last job, there was a lady. She irked my whole life. And every day when she came in, it got to the point I couldn't just keep it rolling because she didn't do her work. Like, somebody come in and they walk around talking to everybody. Hey, how was your weekend? Let me tell you what I did. Let me tell you what I had for dinner. And she would spend like the first 4 or 5 hours doing that. And I'm working hard. And every time she would come in, like I would love for her to be off. Like when she had her off days, it was just like so stress free. But just her being in the building, in the vicinity of me, used to stress me. And I like had to tell myself, I'm making this a horrible place because I can't let this go. And sometimes we have those things that we just like carry around and we're allowing this to give us anxiety. Now you see them, your stomach hurt. You see them, you got a headache. So letting go of past drama. Yes, they step on your feet every Sunday when they start shouting. Just when you see them, go sit on the other side. They gonna hallelujah real loud. Just when she sing a solo, she gonna hit them notes that's nowhere on a registry. It's all right. Just let go of let go of it. Don't add any anxiety to your life. Did y'all want to add something?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the final one, it says begin healing past trauma. Now, that is a big one. Some people have trauma from childhood, trauma from their parents, trauma from your siblings, trauma from the boy that sat behind you in fifth grade and pulled your ponytails. Like there's so much stuff that we pick up along the way. So it says life doesn't leave anyone unscathed. And you might have some experiences in your past that have negatively affected you. If you haven't already, now is the time to start taking steps toward overcoming them. Don't be afraid to reach out to professionals for advice and guidance. Now, that is one of those things. Sometimes, you know, you do need a professional. Sometimes you need somebody to walk you through the steps and the process. Sometimes, we have trauma from somebody that's dead, like they're gone. So there's no resolve there. I can't have an intervention with you. I can't, have a come to Jesus moment because you're gone.
Right.
Um, so I'm still carrying it. And I need somebody that specializes in this to help me be able to lay this down, help me be able to put it down, help me be able to move forward. Sometimes something has hurt us so bad, we don't even realize that we're still hurt and it shows up in other ways. That's where a professional comes in. Like some of the things we said, we've been able to add a joke here, add a joke there, but there is nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. There is nothing wrong with asking for help. If you feel stuck, if you feel like, oh my God, like, why does it still hurt? Like, I still shouldn't feel like this all this time later. There are professionals. Find a person that's right for you. If you need a woman, find a woman. If you need a man, find a male therapist. If you want a person of color, like, there's all these different options. Don't be so narrow minded that you don't get the help that you need. There's professionals. There's spiritual guidance that you can seek. With all of it, you have to be very intentional and very careful how and when you decide to connect with somebody in that capacity. Even a therapist, do some research on them before you just go. Because if you already have experienced trauma, if you're already hurting, if you're already feeling vulnerable, connecting to the wrong person will just make it worse.
Right.
So, ask recommendations, ask friends. You'll be surprised at the people that you know that have seen a therapist and may even be currently seeing one. If you're at work, ask coworkers. Ask your boss. Like, you will be surprised, at the recommendations you receive. Make an informed decision before you try to reach out to somebody. Don't just reach out blindly, because unfortunately, it can make things worse. Unfortunately, it can just traumatize you even more.
Mhm. I would say to all the good Christians that are listening and watching, it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist too. Just saying.
I agree. Shanetta.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We're going to go straight to the word. It says, seek wise counsel.
Right.
And that wise is the education that they have when it comes to dealing with, you know, the trauma and all that, psychological stuff. They have the education, um, and the professionalism, to deal with these things. And, when you are seeking a therapist, seek a Christian therapist so they have the understanding of things that are important to you and how you view, how important the word is to you and how that comes into how you think about things. So, there's plenty of Christian therapists out there who are going to take the word, who will take the word as a consideration, as well as, their studies and how the mind works, how the brain works and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Put it all together and you got wise counsel. So
Yep,
go for it. It's a great thing.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So I definitely concur. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't make you any less anointed, holy, whatever your title is. It doesn't make you any less, because we're all wrapped in flesh. We're all human. So
Right.
that human side of you needs some human tuning up,
Right.
and let God work on your spirit, man. So I think it is absolutely, it is fine, and you don't have to share it. That could be your own personal, you don't owe anybody that explanation.
Right.
So I would say, if that's, if that's the route you need to take, by all means, take that route. I also want to say, sometimes you'll find out, like, going through the process, some of the trauma is how you remember things. It isn't always, it's perspective. Like they were saying, change your perspective. Is how you've told yourself this has happened.
Yeah.
Sometimes talking to a professional, they'll help you see, like, no, what she said was, if you don't apply yourself, you're never gonna get to where you want to be. And what you heard was, she said you ain't never gonna be nothing.
Right.
Like, like, sometimes some of our traumas come, they're those are self-inflicted wounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it does take a professional to be able sometimes to walk you through that, and then to help you figure out, why is it that you're beating up on yourself. So I think it's important to seek help. When things get to where they're paralyzing, like, when you're so hurt, like, "Oh, I'm never going to church again. I'm never going to my family, going to the family reunion. I'm never," when you're never doing something again, sometimes that can be a red flag. So I think it's important to seek help if you need it. There's if you can't afford it, there are free helplines. Listen, you and Google can make it happen. You start Googling, you'll be surprised at what you can find. I'm being honest because Google is your friend sometimes. So look for help, ask for help, never be afraid to seek help. So this was just a few things, like I said, that I found on Google I thought was great. For the emotional spring cleaning, it was pretty much a lot of the same. They just said it in different ways. Like it was make a win list. Every time you have a win or every time something goes right. That's just kind of like the gratitude. It was create a set of goals. Um, that was kind of like giving up something bad, replacing it with something good. So the emotional part, it was a lot of the same steps, just in a different way. It was saying do the brain dumps, which is kind of the journaling. So a lot of it was the same. A lot of the same principles would work for either. And of course, as a fail safe, seek help if it's something you can't do. And I would say, if you're not ready for a therapist, find an accountability partner. Find somebody that can help you go through these tips and hold you accountable. Hey, did you do a brain dump today? You sound a little stressed. Maybe you need to sit down and just write. Find somebody that's going to check on you and really care about seeing you whole and complete. Not somebody that just, girl, what? Like you don't need that. Find somebody that's gonna hold you accountable. Okay, well, you said you were gonna get out the house and take that cooking class. Have you called and done that yet? Sometimes we need that extra human push. So I would say if you're not ready for a therapist, if that doesn't seem like your cup of tea, start small. Find a friend that you can trust, somebody that's not going to take your excuses and is going to push you in a loving way and support you. I think that's always an option. Oh, thank you, Manaris. She's so sweet. She's like the best first lady I've ever encountered in all of my life. Like every first lady I ever meet, I always hold her up to Katrina's mother's standard. She is like the sweetest. I promise. She was like the sweetest. And she was never my first lady, and I encountered some of the things I've encountered after her. I don't think I would still be in the church because some of the examples have been like traumatizing, like for real. But she is the best. So I love you, Manaris. All these years, she has always been consistent and she is the best. Okay. So we are here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, ladies, for joining me and staying committed, to the Thursdays, even after having to move. So we will be back next week, 8 p.m. Until then, stay safe.